So I've never read the Divergent series ever. I know it's a very beloved series, especially since the adaptation came out in the early 2010s, and it's been a cult classic for many people. Honestly, I have watched the movies, but I don't remember much of it. So yeah, that is what's happening with the Divergent series. Not to say that I don't like the dystopian era that we were in with books and movies, because I love the Hunger Games, but I just never read the books. Like, I've watched The Maze Runner, but I didn't read the books. And same with a lot of the other very classic books in the early 2000s, 2010s, and that sort of era. So I thought, since I've done it on my other channel, reading through the Percy Jackson series for the first time, I thought I would do it for a bunch of other books that I haven't read and just reading through them for the first time. And I thought it'd be a fun time, maybe. So if you have any suggestions for future videos, let me know. But for today, we are going to be reading through the Divergent trilogy, which I am excited for. I have actually started reading it last night, so I read the first 3 chapters. So I'll just kind of be letting you guys know my thoughts throughout the process. I just gotta say though, the first 3 chapters, I mean, it went by pretty, not slow, it wasn't slow, but it's just kind of a lot of exposition, you know what I mean? So we just kind of learn more about the different factions and like what they stand for and that kind of stuff. I kind of clocked this when I watched it, but I like didn't remember it until I started reading it again. But Caleb, her brother, not a nice guy, which is very ironic because literally she talks about how he was born to be like such a, like, not kind. No, I don't know if she says kind, but basically saying that, you know, he's a very selfless person and she's seen it throughout her life by like giving up his seat and that kind of stuff. But it's ironic that that's the case. But then at the same time, he's like mean to her kind of in a passive aggressive way. So whatever, it is what it is, I guess. But I'm at the part where she is getting tested to see what faction she belongs in. She's like going through a different series of questions and simulations, and we're gonna find out that she gets into whatever faction, and then that it's up to her to decide which faction she ends up in. From what I remember, I think she ends up in Dauntless because that's where she meets Four. So I don't know, we'll see how it goes. I also have to say that this is probably going to be a spoiler filled vlog for the most part. So if you haven't read Divergent, which it has been out for a while, so I feel safe enough with the time to make it a spoiler vlog. But if you haven't read it, just a warning before we get into the nitty gritty of it all. And I think after every single book that I read, I will watch the movie to see how it kind of compares on a loose scale. Like, it's not going to be like a critical analysis of, you know, how the movie is in comparison to the books. Like, I don't really care that much to do that, but I think it'll be interesting to kind of lock it all in after I've read the first book with the second book, or after the first book and the first movie, and so on and so forth. Although I don't think there is a third movie, so I won't watch that because it doesn't exist, I don't think. So yeah, I will keep you guys updated as I read more. Okay, so I'm like 15% of the way through this book and I forgot a lot about this movie. So rereading this, it made me think back on the movie, and some of the stuff definitely did come up. But other stuff, I was like, I don't remember any of this happening, and I don't know if it's the case where, you know, it didn't get adapted in the movie, but it's in the book, that sort of thing. I don't know. We'll see whenever I watch the movie. But I did annotate a couple things. And by a couple things, it kind of looks like a lot. So when they were first explaining the different factions, I was kind of confused on what they all meant. But then as we got to the selection day, I got the gist of what they were saying. So basically, candor is the truth-telling people. They value telling the truth and they don't like deception. And then abnegation is they value selflessness. So they very much are about being very selfless and everything like that. Amity is nonviolence. So they're just nonviolent. And then erudite is the people that value knowledge. And then dauntless they're the brave ones, and they literally jump off trains and everything. So those are the different factions. Reading through this and like reading Triss's thoughts leading up to the selection day and even at selection day, it made me wonder what my faction would be, which I feel like me now versus 16-year-old me would be very different on which factions I would end up picking, which I don't know. Like, I get it. I understand that this is probably an allegory of like real life, since, you know, young people are forced to make decisions about the rest of their lives at such a young age, especially. I'm guessing this was written around like the early 2010s, maybe earlier than that. So around that time, like a lot of people were kind of pressured into making decisions about their lives way before they even got to live their lives, you know what I mean? But there was like a lot of like career tests, even when I was in like elementary school. And then also just like picking a major in college and that kind of stuff. You're just kind of forced to make these big decisions when you're a barely formed adult. So maybe that it's an allegory for that. I don't really know. But anyways, that to say, I feel like me now, I would probably be like Uridite or Candor if I were to be in a faction right now. But 16-year-old me, knowing me as a 16-year-old, yeah, I would have for sure been Dauntless. For sure. Like, it's so insane. Like, I was actually so crazy. Not crazy, but like, I was definitely a lot more fearless when I was 16 years old. And now anxiety is so heavy in my life I mean, it was heavy in my life at 16, but now it's like a different type of anxiety now, you know what I mean? It's crazy how it could have been two different timelines depending on if I picked a faction than if I were in that life, you know what I mean? Anyways, let me know what faction you guys think you would be in, and like what you would be in as a 16-year-old you, and then also you currently, and if it would be any different. I also do remember that Caleb, he ended up picking a different faction from the movie, but I thought it was Amity for some reason, but it's not. He actually picked Uridite, which is about knowledge, and then she was so betrayed. She's like, oh my god, like I should have known from the amount of books that he had that he was gonna pick Uridite. And then I really liked how she used that moment of slight betrayal, kind of big betrayal, to propel her towards Dauntless, which I thought was interesting. And then also the little nugget about one of the abnegation people and their sons going to Dauntless. I got that foreshadow, and we got to meet Four, which I already know that he is from Abnegation from the movies. That was nice to know. And also, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of romantasy books lately have been like the corners of his mouth twitches. And the amount of times that these romantasy books say his lips twitched, his mouth twitched, twitched. The amount of times that books say it these days is astronomical. So I thought it was like a recent phase within like the past, 5 years since like 2020. No, it's not, because they had Four have his mouth twitch when he was talking to Triss. So we already know that's a setup for their romance situation. But yeah, Triss was really going through it. Looking back at all the things that I annotated them because I need to remember like the information if I'm going to look back on it. But also she was really going through it. Literally one of the quotes she says is, but choosing a different faction means I forsake my family permanently. Like, okay, drama queen. All right. I mean, it is very dramatic. It is. Don't get me wrong. It is very dramatic because once you pick a different faction, you are literally away from your family forever, most likely, because they will shun you. Which also, this reminds me of like Amish culture a little bit. I mean, I don't know enough about Amish culture, so I'm only basing this off of general things that I have heard about, so I could be very wrong. But I'm pretty sure a lot of Amish people, if people end up not being Amish anymore, they shun them out of their lives no matter what. So that kind of reminded me of that, and it made me wonder if the author also was inspired by that. Maybe, I don't know. So now they're in the Dauntless headquarters. They had to do the whole iconic running on the train, running off the train into the net, all that shit. Like, they had to do all that, which, by the way, that is crazy. They had to prove their bravery by jumping on a train. I don't know. I feel like there's other ways to prove your bravery, but it is what it is. Like, I feel like the net scene, okay, I can understand that because they're trying to test to see if you're brave enough to do it. But the train, that is ruthless. The fact that they don't care that other people might not make it because of that fact and they will become factionless. I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. But we are at the point where they are at the Dauntless headquarters. We get introduced to Christina, who is Triss's bestie at this point. And we got to the iconic scene where he's like, my name is Four. And she's like, Four like the number. And then later on, he's basically like, shut the fuck up. And she's like, oh, he's rude. And then like Triss and Four have their moment, and so you already know that they're gonna have like a romantic tension sort of moment. And also Christina clocks it as well, which is kind of crazy. And then we also meet, I forget his name, I don't remember his name, but Miles is Teller's character. He's like one of the commanders. Is it? I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember. I just kind of out of my brain. But we did meet him. And then we got to the point where they have like their sleeping accommodations where they're like, there's an extra bed because we thought only 10 would make it. And they're like, wait, but there were like 12 total people. And they're like, well, usually people don't make it for the train, at least one person. So that was setting that up too. Oh, another thing with the factions that I was going to mention earlier is the fact that, so these factions are very specific things. Like Candor is telling the truth. Amity is no violence. Dauntless is being brave. And then all these different things that turn into different aspects of society. So it's like a perfect society, whatever. But my thing is that you're telling me that you can't be both things. I mean, that's probably the whole point of this book because we have the divergent people who are like multiple different things. But I just don't understand how even a dystopian future could commit so much to the bit that you are only that one thing and one thing only. Like you're telling me that abnegation people are selfless, but they can lie. It just doesn't seem feasible. That's the word. It doesn't seem feasible to only be one thing because I feel like the whole thing with human nature is that you are multiple things, which again, that's probably the whole point of this book. But me reading it, I'm like, you're telling me that like the dauntless people, they are only brave. They're not smart. They don't value knowledge at all. They don't also value honesty and all that. Like, I don't know. That's a little weird. That's a little bit, I don't know. But either way, I'm enjoying this book so far as is. I'm at the 15% mark. It says I have 4 hours left, technically, I guess. So we'll see how it goes. I might listen to some as I drive because I have to go to Taekwondo later today. By later today, I mean like in 15 minutes. Maybe I'll listen to it on the way there. I don't know. We'll see. And then I was going to read some more today because it's the one thing about this book that I really appreciate. And I don't know if it's the fact that it's a YA book, is that it's going by pretty quickly. It's like a pretty easy read for me. And a lot of things are very straightforward and easy to go along with. So that's good at least. But yeah, hoping to finish this today. So then maybe tomorrow I can start on the second book and then finish the whole series maybe by this weekend. I don't know. Wishful thinking. Fingers crossed. So I'm at the 25% mark. I know a lot of people have said that they like 4 a lot. Like that's one of their OG book boyfriend. And just based on the movies, I was like, yeah, I can totally see that. I understand because yeah, 4 in the movie was also great from what I remember. But they've made it to their little field trip to one of the bases or whatever that the Dauntless people guard. It's after Triss has run into Robert, I think his name is. He switched over from abnegation to amity. And of course, Triss is definitely one of those people where a lot of people like her and she just doesn't realize how many people fucking like her. And that's just what it is. Anyways, that to say, now we're at the point where they're inside. They've locked the gate or whatever. And she's like made a comment in her brain about it. But 4 comes up to her and he says, I'm worried that you have a knack for making unwise decisions. And he's like really close to her. And she says, it was a 2-minute conversation. And he says, I don't think a smaller time frame makes it any less unwise. And he's like furrowing his brows, looking at her and her bruised up face because she got beat the fuck up by those losers. And he's touching the corner of her eye where the bruise is. And even when she's like, oh, I'm not used to physical contact, he's still touching her. And he's trying to help her out too by saying, you know, if you could just learn to attack first, you might do better. Yeah, I get it. I understand, truly. And the crazy part about this all is that this is literally only just the beginning. I totally acknowledge that. So I'm excited. I'm already giggling, kicking my feet at this. I'm a 4 girly. I fear. Am I gonna eat my words? Tell me right now. Am I gonna eat my words right now? Tell me. I mean, maybe not tell me, but tell me. Well, yeah, tell me because this video will have all of my reactions, so you can't spoil it. I think I will like 4. I really don't want to eat my words, guys. But right now I do like him. I do. So they just got done playing Capture the Flag, and Christina is starting to show her hater side. I don't remember her being a hater. Honestly, I don't really remember much of her in the movie, but she's being a hater, and it's because Trish got a little bit of attention and she actually did something smart. And Trish should have been the one to get the flag, but whatever. I feel like now that we've seen the side of Christina, she's gonna be like one of the people that ends up turning on Trish pretty fast. If not the first person to turn on Trish. I don't know. Especially since Trish is getting a lot of attention from the Dauntless born people. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm on chapter 13 now though. It says I have like 4 hours and 41 minutes left in the book. Hopefully sooner than later than that, but we'll see. I'm not trying to rush it, but, you know, I think I'll be able to read it faster than that, though. I'm on chapter 16 at this point. We are at Visitation Day, and Triss's mom has shown up. Of course she did, because we knew that she was going to show up when she was the only one smiling between her and Triss's dad at the choosing day, whatever. So I knew that she was going to show up, but I don't know if I forgot, or maybe I just didn't know. But her mom is Dauntless, and she switched over to Abnegation, I'm assuming, on her choosing day. And she also knows that Triss is divergent. What the fuck is happening? What the fuck is happening? I mean, I know quite literally this is the point of the book, but they got me. Veronica Roth, you got me. You got me. I am hooked in. Like, actually shut the fuck up. No, don't shut the fuck up. I will gladly watch more, or not watch more. I will gladly read more, but I do have to start cleaning because it's like almost 8 o'clock. Not super late right now, but I do want to start getting things a little bit in order so that I don't have to worry about it later. So I'm going to listen to this audibly on Libby. Luckily it was available, and I am just going to start listening to that while I wash dishes and do other things. But so far so good. I think I am going to finish this tonight. Not even because I'm a fast reader, but I am genuinely so curious. I completely forgot a lot of the things about this book from the movie, and I don't even know if the movie covers all the shit that is happening in the book, because I feel like in the book a lot of shit is happening and I don't remember, like the whole capture the flag thing. I don't remember that. Genuinely, I don't remember that. I remember from the movie, I remember the train scene where they're running and they're getting on the train. I remember what's your name? 4 for like the number, and I don't even remember what the girl looks like. I don't remember what Christina looks like. I'm sorry. I also capture the flag again. I don't remember that. I don't remember Visitation Day either. Eric though, I am remembering that it's Miles Teller. I'm pretty sure it's Miles Teller, at least I think. So every time Eric comes on, Miles Teller from Divergent is coming in my brain, unfortunately, because I just remember in that franchise. I'm pretty sure he's in Maze Runner too, and both times he was a dickhead. I mean, that's just what the character called for, but still, I just remember viscerally, like, I was like, wow, you're doing a great job with the character, but you really are pissing me off. And the trio, the 3 losers, the 3 Musketeer losers, yeah, I don't remember all their names. Molly, Peter, and I forget the other guy, but yeah, they're losers. They're losers. Capital L losers. I hate them. I hate them so much. I mean, that's quite literally the point, but the whole shower towel situation, yeah, that was really fucked up, and I hate them. She's officially sleeping in his bed, and he's sleeping on the floor. Yeah, I love them so much. I love them so much. There's not much more I can say. Love them. Love 4, honestly. So I ended up finishing the first book this morning. I got to the 75-80%-ish mark last night, and then I got really tired. So I went to bed, and then I finished the rest early this morning at like 6 a.m. because my cat, Frenchie, very much insists on waking me up very, very early. So I did finish the rest of the first book this morning because of that fact, and I ended up giving the first book a 4 out of 5 stars. I mean, it's not perfect by any means. But did I have a fun time? Yeah, I did. I had a really fun time. It really was reminiscent of the early 2010s YA dystopian book era, and I really enjoyed that fact. A lot of people I saw on Goodreads were comparing this to The Hunger Games, and I don't know if it's because of the recency of when this was released after The Hunger Games or not, but I just gotta say, I don't really think this is similar to The Hunger Games. Is that an unpopular opinion? I don't know, but I just feel like it's similar in the sense that it's YA dystopian, so of course dystopian type of fiction books are going to be similar in some sense, because the whole point of dystopian is it could either be the near future or far future where something happens and it's the aftermath of that and what society would potentially look like if something crazy happened or whatever the circumstances are. So I feel like both of them cover that, but they're also kind of different, you know? The Hunger Games has districts, but they're sorted in those districts by birth. Like it's just where they're born and that's just what it is and how they were separated when everything went down. And then with Divergent, I mean, they have these different groups and different factions, but they get to choose if they leave or not. I mean, of course, they will be shunned. They will become factionless if they don't like where they chose and then they want to drop out because they can't go back to their original faction because their whole motto is faction over blood, which is insane work for that to be a thing. But I guess because it is a dystopian, they have to take it to the extreme. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's maybe the only similarity. There is one similar scene where I was like, I understand. But that comes into like Hunger Games. Is it Catching Fire? It might be Catching Fire. No, Mockingjay. I think it's in Mockingjay. And I don't know if Mockingjay came out by the time that the first Divergent came out. So I don't really know for sure. You can fact check me. Maybe I am wrong. But the only similarity I saw in that was maybe like the whole mind control situation. And even then, the Divergent one, it feels like lower stakes. And I don't think the whole point of that was to make it this like, not epic, but you know what I mean? Like this whole back and forth and like this very high stakes situation like it was in Hunger Games with Katniss and Peeta. Because Peeta was quite literally brainwashed. He was. And it's unfortunate. And he still chose Katniss. And that was the heartbreaking part. Not because he chose Katniss. It was heartbreaking that he was brainwashed when he was taken by the Capitol. But Divergent, the whole situation with Four and Triss at the end where he gets the serum eventually does wear off. It does. And also Triss somehow got him out of that whole mirage of whatever he was under. She did it pretty quickly. So I don't really know. Whatever. It's not perfect. It's not, but I had a fun time. I did. There was a couple things that came up, especially as I started watching the movie. So tell me why TV Guide, the website, played me. They played me so hard. They said that Divergent was available on Netflix. And I was like, okay, bet. I don't have to pay for the rental or anything additional because I have Netflix. Okay. I do. So I was like, okay, perfect. I'm going to finish the book. And then I'm going to watch it. It's not on Netflix. I have to get Movie Sphere. Luckily, they have a free trial. So you bet I'm going to just finish all of the books and watch all the movies in the 7-day free trial period. I'm not paying for another subscription. I'm not. It's not worth it for me. But anyways, I did the whole free trial thing. I started watching it and I'm only like a quarter of the way through. They're still in the training phase of it all. A couple of things I do have to clear up. I'm sure you guys, while watching this, have been screaming at me, yelling at me for all the misinformation that I put out there. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I was just going based off of vibes the first half of this book and also things I've heard in the grapevine and vague memories of this movie. So sorry for all of that. But Miles Teller is not Eric. Eric is somebody else. And seeing Eric in the movie, I was like, oh, yeah. I would also be scared of Eric too. Also, Eric in the movie, I also don't like him. I mean, we shouldn't like him, but I don't like him. I don't. Also, Zoe Kravitz as Christina. God damn. Zoe Kravitz, she was working. If there's one thing to know about Zoe Kravitz is she was working in the 2010s. I mean, she's working now too, but like, God damn. I swear she's in multiple YA dystopian movies. Maybe I'm wrong. I might be wrong. Fact check me. Yeah, she was working though. I feel like I've seen her a lot in 2010s movies. So yeah, Miles Teller is not Eric. Eric is somebody else, but Miles Teller, he is Peter, and that's why I remember hating him so much in the movie. I did not like Peter in the book. The 3 losers, yeah, they were losers. Miles Teller as Peter in the movie, He pisses me off so much. He pisses me off so much. I don't like him. He plays it so well, which is so crazy. Which this whole situation is so crazy because there's this one movie that A24 distributed called The Spectacular Now with Shailene. I don't remember her last name. I'm sorry, but the person that plays Triss, her and Miles Teller, they are in another movie together, and it's a rom-com. And to go, I don't know which came first, but either direction, either way, they literally sold their whole love interest so well in The Spectacular Now. And now he's pissing me off because he's so annoying as Peter, which is good because Peter is annoying. But anyways, Miles Teller is Peter. That was just based off of my memory. And I don't know why I thought he was Eric. I don't know. He was definitely a younger actor. So maybe I was thinking of Miles Teller now and him playing Eric because I feel like now he could play Eric for sure. Another thing, I said that there was only 2 Divergent movies. I've quickly found out upon researching where I can find the Divergent movies, there is in fact 3 movies. There is. I did not know that. Sorry. I heard in the grapevine that there was only 2. This is why I should fact check things. This is why it's important to fact check things in general, not just for me, but for everybody. So lesson learned. So there are 3 movies. So I will be watching all 3 movies after each book that I read. There are a couple differences that I'm noticing so far while watching the adaptation straight after reading the book. And I don't think they're enough right now for it to ruin the quality of this adaptation. I do understand they have to make changes for it to be adaptation because most of this book is Triss's thoughts, and you cannot translate all of Triss's thoughts into the adaptation. You know what I mean? Also, another fun fact, the guy that plays Fitz, the president in Scandal, yeah, he is Triss's dad. I did not know that. Also, I completely forgot Kate Winslet is Janine. That's crazy. I completely forgot that. Also, too, in the books, the first time they're meeting is way later on, and that is not the case. They build a stronger case for some of the things that happen in the book, which I think is why there are subtle changes here and there about that. But I'm just curious to see how the rest of it goes if they are making these minor changes. Also, watching this movie had me kicking, screaming, throwing up with Theo James's scenes. I now remember why he was a childhood crush. And by childhood, I just mean high school, which technically, I guess, still a child. But he killed it in Divergent, at least. I don't know about the other 2 movies, but in Divergent, he killed it. I understand. Also, another thought. I think this might be my last thought. I'm so sorry if I'm rambling too much, but a lot of thoughts came up while I was watching the movie. So I wanted to convey that to you guys before I finish the rest of this movie. While watching the movie, it made me think, because they really show, I think it's New York that they're in. They show the New York skyline a lot. So this is clearly a city, right? And they emphasize that a little bit in the book, but they make it very clear in the adaptation. So they're in the city. These 5 factions, or are they called factions? But these 5 groups are for this particular city alone. And then they say like, they don't know what's beyond those gates or whatever. What if, I think it'd be really funny, probably not the case at all. What if, like, sure, this is a dystopian future, but this is only one city. So like all these other cities in presumably America and other countries, they're just looking at this like one gated off city and they're like, okay, I guess they're just gonna sort themselves in groups and rule themselves like that. I guess let them do their thing. And maybe that's what's going on here because they don't talk about any other city other than their own. At least in the first book. Maybe they do in the future one. And I just think it'd be funny if it was like one of those things where it's like, you know, the show Unbelievable Kimmy Schmidt, where they're in a bunker and they're convinced that they're, you know, there for a very long time and just riding out the end of the world. What if it's like that? And they're just a larger group of mole women. I don't know. I think that would be hilarious. If they still made those parody movies, like, I don't know if you guys remember the parody movies was Scary Movie, I think it's called, but where they made those parody movies, that should be a parody movie because I think that'd be so funny if everybody's like, I don't know why they've decided to do that, but okay, we're not going to bother them. And it's just like this large mass scale, like cult situation. I don't know. But that was a thought that came up and I thought it was funny. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks it's funny. I also remember Caleb being more annoying in the movie. So I don't know if I haven't gotten to that point yet, but so far he's fine. And I don't know why I thought he was annoying. I don't know. Things can change. But I am going to finish the rest of this movie while I eat breakfast, maybe, and then read book 2. I do have a a couple things to do today. So I think I'm going to listen to a lot of it audibly and then maybe read some later, but we'll see. I'm really hoping the second book is not that long. Like not as long as the first one. The first one wasn't super long, but it was like 544 pages, I'm pretty sure. So I just hope it's not longer than that, you know, kind of like Twilight and other long series where the books just keep getting bigger and bigger. Like I just really hope it's not that case. I don't know. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I'm around 10% of the way through Insurgent right now. And I forgot to mention this in the first one because I was so caught up in the adaptation and talking about the adaptation that I completely disregarded this. But I forgot how many times Veronica Roth, her name is, I forgot how many times she mentions that Triss is this teeny tiny girl in the first book until I started reading the second book. And I was like, oh my God, here we are again saying, like, really emphasizing that Triss is this teeny tiny girl. And honestly, I get it. I feel like during that time, a lot of authors were like that. They really wanted to just really emphasize that this girl is teeny tiny. And like, of course, she's going to be with this big strong man or whatever. I mean, I also know that one of my favorite authors, Ali Hazelwood, also does this too, but she does it in a way that's endearing. But the way that it's done in the Divergent series, it's kind of irritating, especially because at this point, it's not really relevant to any of it anymore. I can understand in the training portion of it all in the first book when they're talking about her disadvantages in training with all these people and whatnot. But at this point, it doesn't really matter. And the amount of times that we have to hear her say she's teeny tiny, especially in the arms of four, like I'm just over it and I don't need to hear it. I'm sorry. But other than that, it's okay. It's taking place right after the first book. So we're kind of figuring out what's going to happen and move forward. I also got to say, I finished the adaptation and they did change a good amount of stuff. They did. And I do understand why Divergent fans are upset. I'm not personally super upset about it. I mean, I have no dog in the fight here. I don't care that much about the adaptation and the book series like that. At least now, at least as of this moment, I don't really care that much to the point where I'm like outraged by these changes. And I also think some of the changes make sense. I think it just does. But one of the changes that I don't really know if I like the fact that they made Janine undo all the programs and whatever, make her undo all the programs and whatever instead of them taking the data box with them. Because now she's literally part of the faction that is about intelligence. So they can easily, I'm sure they can easily just replicate it in the second movies and onward. So I don't really know how that's going to translate in the second and third movie. Who knows? I mean, it's not the worst thing ever if they are able to kind of convey that in a different way in the adaptations. Seeing that made me worry a little bit that the more adaptations that I do see, it's going to be very different from the books. So, I mean, again, I have no dog in the fight, so I don't really... Not that I don't care, but for me, it's like, it is what it is. It's been over 10 years, I think, at this point, since not only the movie came out, but also the books came out. So I really have no dog in the fight here. I don't have a fresh take. I don't have a fresh opinion, I don't think, on the adaptation being so different because it's been talked about for so long, you know? So it is what it is, unless they make a new adaptation, which also made me think after watching the movie and also reading the book again for the second book in the series, I think they should just make this a series. I'm a big advocator for book series to be shows before movies. I mean, depending on the book, it depends on the book. But most books are long enough and have a bunch of lore for it to be appropriate to be a TV show. Especially dystopian books, especially fantasy books. I think there's enough content for it to be a TV show. I think there are some exceptions to that, like Hunger Games. I think it's very different because Suzanne Collins wrote it in the format of a screenplay for a feature film. So that's very different and very mindful of that. But I don't think Veronica Roth did that with Divergent because it feels very much not like a movie format. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and I think it could have been a little bit more cohesive if it was a little bit more fleshed out in a TV series, even if it was like a limited series with like, I don't know, 6 to 8 episodes per season. I don't know. I think it could have been interesting. So far, it's fine. I mean, it's kind of slow right now. I'm only 10% of the way through, so maybe that's why, but I don't know if I'm going to like the second book as much. I'm really hoping I do. I hope I do, but we'll see. So I am officially around 39% of the way through. I'm on chapter 18, and a good amount of stuff has happened since I last updated you guys, I think. So I don't remember where I last left off. They've gone from amity to factionless to now candor, and now they're reunited with the Dauntless people who are on their sides. And then Triss went on a whole mission to scope out the Dauntless headquarters, I think, or maybe it was the Eurydice headquarters. I don't know, but she was scoping the situation out with a couple other people, Uriah included, and we found out that he's also dauntless. And then, also the whole truth serum situation to make sure that they were able to stay and make sure that they weren't working against them. That whole situation has now caused tension between Triss and Four, as well as Christina, which we haven't seen Christina since then. So I don't really know what that's about. If she is going to defect to the other Dauntless team because of that, I don't really know. But it's getting a little juicy. And I can see that they're building tension so that there is some, I don't even know. There is some tension though. And it's definitely a plot device that Veronica Roth is doing so that there are more stakes to the situation. But oh my God, this is supposed to be a YA book, right? A YA book series. But tell me why. Some of these things that they're doing is really fucked up. Literally, Eric shot a child. What the fuck? That's supposed to be YA. I mean, granted, this was released in early 2010s, but oh my God, that is so insane. I don't know. This book is getting dark really fast, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess, for that situation. I feel like since this is a lot less setup and it's a lot more trying to figure out what's happening and why Janine is so adamant about controlling Divergent and seeking out these Divergent people, I am a little bit more into it faster. You know what I mean? Because we already know everything that has happened in the first book. We know the premise of it all. We know the different faction systems and all that. And we're still learning about new things that are coming up, but it's just building on top of it. So already, not even halfway through, I'm pretty deep into the book. I don't know if I like it better than Dauntless. Not to say that Dauntless is super amazing and I can't get over how good it is. It's not like that level. That's not what I'm saying here. For Insurgent though, I don't know if I like it better, if I like it the same or not at this point in time. I think it'll be one of those situations where I will know by the time I'm done the book, depending on how many twists and turns are being thrown in there. So I'm scared. I'm scared because I actually don't remember a single thing from this movie, and I actually don't even know if I've watched the second and third movie. So I really have nothing to base off of this. I might as well be going into it blind because I don't remember anything. And I don't even remember if I watched it. We'll see how it goes. It seems like the typical trajectory though of a YA dystopian book, and just how Triss is becoming this girl boss, very strong female main character energy sort of person that's leading a revolution. That's what it feels like. And that's probably what it's going to be, because that's how most of the YA dystopian novels were back in those times where it was super popular. So we'll see how it goes. I keep forgetting to update as things are happening. So I will probably just update you guys whenever I finish it, unless something egregious comes up and I have to. But I do have to say, the teeny tiny girl thing, it's not as much as the first book, but it's still happening. I know that was one of the things I ranted about in the last clip, but she's still talking about how teeny tiny she is. I don't care anymore that she's teeny tiny. I don't care. And I don't think a lot of people care. So we need to stop.
Quiet down, everyone. Jack Kang lifts his hands and the crowd goes silent.
So I finished Insurgent last night. And if everything I said as a joke, this is some cult, and the outside world is just kind of chilling and looking at this city okay, let's just let them do their thing as a cult. I'm not gonna be mad, but I'm actually gonna be a little side-eyed, because the whole reveal of it all at the end of Insurgent, I thought the whole thing outside of the city was gonna be not zombies or anything like that. I mean, a part of me was I kind of wish it was zombies, but another part of me was it's definitely not zombies. Definitely not zombies, but there has to be an actual threat. But the fact that the threat is humanity itself, I don't know. It's not whack, but at the same time, I'm really? And of course, Triss's ancestor is the person that started this whole situation, at least in the message for what this whole situation is about. I mean, the second book was fine. I feel like there were definitely times where I really felt for Triss. On a certain level, I do really feel for Triss because I relate to her in certain aspects of what she's going through. But at the same time, I'm like, girl, what are you doing in other aspects? You know what I mean? And it's not even coming from a place of judgment either. I feel like 16-year-old me would have definitely ate this up and been like, oh my God, I am so Triss coded, you know? Because Triss in the book is definitely an embodiment of the recklessness that comes with being a teenager, in my opinion, at least. So there is that. I mean, overall, it was fine. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. I had a good time reading it. I think it was a lot more fast paced than the first one, especially since we got more into like what's going on and like they were always on the run and everything. And there was a lot going on at all times. I love 4. I'm a 4 lover. Also, I did start watching the movie while I was getting ready today. And tell me why this movie is already so much different than the book. And I don't know if I like it or not. I don't know if I like it. No, it's pretty different and it's moving very differently. And now I understood it in the first one, but in the second one, I really understand why people would be upset at the differences. Not saying I'm upset, but I definitely see it because it is pretty different than the book. There's like definitely elements of the book still in there. It feels like they used bullet points from the book and then they filled in the rest with their own little things for the adaptation. So I'm going to finish it out, see if I end up liking it or not, and I'll keep you guys posted on that as well. But I started the third book. So far, so good. I think I'm like less than 5% of the way through, but I am trying to finish it sooner than later because I want to watch all the movies before my free trial runs out for Movieplex or whatever it's called. I also just got a bunch of Libby holds that I want to read as well. So I do want to read it sooner than later. Also, listening to audiobook has been super, super helpful. So we'll definitely keep that going whenever I can't read it physically, but I have time to multitask and stuff. So if I move any more to the left, the sun is going to hit me in the face and it's going to look crazy. So bear with me while you see me on the right side of your screen. But I ended up finishing Allegiant this morning, and I'm so glad I'm done with the series. I feel like after the semi big reveal of the third book and it being the plot twist being eugenics, like literally the whole plot twist of this entire series is fucking eugenics. I became so disinterested with this series so fast because it, like, why? What was the point of that? And then also the ending of it just fell so fast because I don't know, like, I mean, okay, listen, I'm all for killing your darlings in the series, and I get why Triss was the one to sacrifice herself for the death serum and whatever. But the fact that she just died because he literally shot her, that was so anticlimactic. Everything about it was anticlimactic. I did not like it at all. I feel like there was some potential and it just kind of fell flat after that point. And I guess that's what happens when you make your plot twist eugenics. Because what the fuck? It's like not interesting at all after that point. Like, what? I don't know. I really did not like this book at all. The third book really fell flat compared to the first two. And not that the first two were my favorite books of all time, but I did not enjoy it. So for real. And honestly, I'm not even going to give it a rating because, yeah, I don't even want to give it a rating. I don't even think I can even encapsulate what I would rate it because I was so let down. So I'm not going to give it a rating, but just know that I did not enjoy this book at all. And the series overall, it was fine. It was fine, but I don't know. I'm just going to ignore that the third book happened. I'm just going to pretend that it was just the first two and leave it at that. I still need to watch the third movie, and it makes me scared because if I dislike the book this much, I think the third movie is going to be rough. Like, it's actually going to be really, really rough. I guess we'll see how I enjoy the third movie, but yeah, I really did not like the third book at all. Like, it's just not for me. Honestly, if you enjoyed it, I'm happy for you, but from the bottom of my heart, I did not enjoy it. I didn't. So yeah, I'm scared to watch the movie, guys. I'm so scared to watch the movie.